The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was quiet. Representatives from 100 different worlds sat in their seats, watching the center platform with careful eyes. The station called Veldris Prime floated in neutral space, far from any empire's borders. Here, wars were discussed. Here, treaties were signed. And here, warnings were given. Elder Palom stood slowly from his seat. His body was old and bent, covered in pale blue skin that had seen 300 years of galactic history. The Kelthri lived long lives, and Palom had witnessed more than most. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species destroy themselves with foolish choices. And now, he watched another foolish choice about to happen. "I must speak," Palom said. His voice was soft but carried across the silent hall. High Commander Threnix turned to look at the old alien. Threnix was tall and covered in dark scales. His eyes were yellow and sharp like a predator's. Behind him stood 6 Varax officers, all wearing the black armor of the Dominion's military. They had come to the council not to ask permission, but to announce their intentions. "Speak then, old one," Threnix said. "But speak quickly. We have a war to begin." Palom walked to the center of the hall. His movements were slow, but his eyes were clear and focused. He looked around at the gathered representatives, then fixed his gaze on Threnix. "You plan to attack human colony worlds," Palom said. "You believe they are weak. You believe their short lives make them easy prey. You believe you can take what you want and leave." Threnix showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. "The humans control rich agricultural worlds. We need those resources. They have only small defense forces. This will be simple." "It will not be simple," Palom said. "It will be the end of your dominion." Laughter came from the Varax officers. Even some other representatives made sounds of amusement. The humans were new to galactic society. They had joined the council only 50 years ago. They were not known as warriors. They were known as traders, farmers, and builders. But Palom did not laugh. He raised one thin hand for silence. 20 years ago, I witnessed something," he said. "A pirate group attacked a human station called Callisto. It was a small attack. The pirates killed 43 humans and stole medical supplies. Then they fled." Threnix waved his hand dismissively. "Pirates attack stations everywhere. This is not special." "The pirates thought they had escaped," Palom continued. "They crossed 3 star systems. They hid in an asteroid field. They believed they were safe." He paused and looked directly at Threnix. They were wrong. The hall grew quieter. Something in Palom's voice had changed. "The humans came after them," Palom said. "Not just the local security forces. Ships came from Earth. Ships came from Mars. Ships came from colonies the pirates had never even heard of. The humans searched for 2 months. They found the pirates hiding in that asteroid field, and they destroyed them. Every single one. Revenge is common among species," Threnix said. "We Varax understand revenge." "This was not revenge," Palom said. "This was something else. The humans lost more ships finding those pirates than the original attack had cost them. They spent more resources on the hunt than the pirates had stolen. It made no logical sense. But they did not care about logic. They cared about one thing only. And what was that?" Threnix asked. "Making sure no one escaped," Palom said. "The humans have a saying. They say that if you hurt their people, they will find you. They will follow you across the galaxy if they must. And they will never, ever stop." Counselor Mira Cho stood from the human delegation seats. She was a small woman with dark hair and calm eyes. She wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Nothing about her looked threatening. But when she spoke, her voice was steady and cold. "Elder Palom speaks the truth," Myra said. "We do not want war with the Varax Dominion. We have no interest in your territory or your resources. But if you attack our people, you will face consequences." Threenix stepped toward her. He was twice her height. His claws could cut through metal. But Myra did not move back. "You have 40 warships in your entire navy," Threenix said. "We have 400. Your colonies have no real defenses. Your people live soft lives on peaceful worlds. What consequences could you possibly bring?" Myra looked up at him without fear. "We do not start wars," she said, "but we finish them. Every single time." Threenix laughed again and turned away. "Empty words from a weak species. The Varax Dominion will take what it needs. If the humans wish to send their tiny fleet against us, we will destroy it. This discussion is over." He walked toward the exit with his officers following behind. At the door, he stopped and looked back at the council. "In 1 week, we will attack the human colony called Elysium 4, he announced. "Any species that interferes will share their fate." Then he was gone. The hall erupted in worried voices. Representatives talked quickly with each other. Some looked at the human delegation with pity. Others simply looked away, not wanting to get involved. Palom walked slowly to where Mira Cho still stood. Captain Yuna Park and Lieutenant Do Yoon Kang had joined her from their seats nearby. Yuna commanded the diplomatic vessel that had brought them here. Do Yoon was her tactical officer, a quiet man with sharp eyes. "You should evacuate Elysium 4, Palom said softly. "Save who you can." Yuna shook her head. 200,000 people live there. We cannot evacuate them all in 1 week. Then many will die, Palom said sadly. Do Yoon spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. "Many will die," he agreed. "But not just our people." Palom looked at the young officer carefully. He saw something in those human eyes that he had seen before. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something colder and more patient. "You will pursue them," Palom said. It was not a question. "We will find them," Mira said. "Every ship that attacks our colony. Every soldier that harms our people. Every commander who gave the orders. We will find them all, even if it takes years?" Palom asked. "Even if it takes forever," Yuna said. Palom nodded slowly. He understood now why the humans had survived their violent history on their home world. Other species had evolved beyond such behavior. They fought wars with logic and purpose. They knew when to stop, when the cost became too high. Humans did not know when to stop. They could not stop. Something in their nature drove them forward, past all reasonable limits. It was terrifying. "I will tell the council to prepare," Palom said. "They will not listen, but I will tell them. When this is over, the galaxy will remember what happens when you attack humanity." He began walking back to his seat, then stopped and looked over his shoulder. "The Varax think they are predators," he said. "They are about to learn that humans are something far worse. Humans are patient. Humans are stubborn. And humans never let their enemies escape." Myra watched the old alien return to his seat. Then she turned to Yuna and Do Yoon. "Send a message to Earth," she said. "Tell them what is coming. Tell them to wake up the fleet. All of it?" Yuna asked. Myra's eyes were cold as ice. "All of it." The Varax wanted a war. They are going to get one. The message left Veldris Prime at the speed of light, racing toward Earth and every human colony in the galaxy. It carried simple words that would soon become a promise. They attacked our people. Find them all. And across human space, the ships began to wake. The sky above Elysium 4 had always been peaceful. Blue clouds moved slowly across a purple horizon. Farmers worked in golden fields that stretched for miles. Children played in small towns while their parents went about their daily lives. It was a quiet world, a world built for growing food and raising families. Governor Jizuhan stood at her office window, watching those peaceful fields. She had moved to Elysium 4 15 years ago, leaving behind a career in military logistics to build something new. She had helped this colony grow from 50,000 people to 200,000. She knew every town, every farm, every family, and she knew that in less than 1 hour, the Varax would come to destroy it all. Her communication device buzzed. She answered it without looking away from the window. "Governor, the evacuation is proceeding," said Sergeant Taiwan Bei. His voice was steady but tired. "We have moved 60,000 people to the underground bunkers, but we are running out of time." "Keep moving them," Jisoo said. "Every person in those bunkers is a life saved." "The militia is ready," Taiwan continued. 300 soldiers. We have set up positions around the main city. 300 soldiers against 40 warships. Jisoo almost laughed at how impossible it sounded. But she did not laugh. She had served in the military long enough to know that sometimes impossible fights were the only fights worth having. "Hold them as long as you can," she said. "Every minute you buy gives more people time to reach safety." "Understood, Governor. We will make them pay for every meter." The call ended. Jisoo turned from the window and walked to the emergency center deep in the government building. Screens covered the walls, showing views from satellites and ground cameras. Dr. Yoonji Lim was already there, organizing medical supplies with quick, practiced movements. "The field hospitals are ready," Eunji said without looking up. "I have 30 doctors and 100 nurses spread across 6 locations." "You should be in the bunkers," Jisoo said. Yoonji finally looked at her. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had been the colony's chief medical officer for 10 years. She had delivered babies, treated injuries, and cared for the sick and dying. She was not going to hide now. "If soldiers get hurt, they need doctors," Yoonji said simply. "I will not leave them without care." Jisoo nodded. She understood. Some people could not run and hide, no matter how dangerous things became. It was a human trait that other species found strange. Why stay and die when you could flee and live? Because running meant leaving others behind. And humans did not abandon their own. The first warning alarm sounded at exactly midday. 40 Varax warships appeared in orbit, their dark shapes blocking out the stars. They were massive vessels, covered in weapons and armor. A single one of those ships could have destroyed the entire colony in minutes. The communication system crackled with an incoming message. A Varax officer's face appeared on the screens. His scales were dark green, his eyes cold and yellow. "Humans of Elysium 4, he said. "I am Commander Varric of the Varax Dominion. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and you will be allowed to serve as workers. Resist, and you will be destroyed." Jisoo stepped forward to the communication panel. She pressed the button to reply. "This is Governor Jisoo Han of Elysium 4, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. "We reject your demands. This is our home, and we will defend it." The Varax commander seemed surprised. "You have no fleet. You have no real military. You cannot win this fight." "Perhaps not," Jisoo said. "But we can make you bleed. And when you are done here, our people will come for you. Every ship, every soldier. They will hunt you across the galaxy." The commander laughed. "Your threats mean nothing. We will take what we want." The screen went dark. Moments later, the first landing craft began descending from the warships. Sergeant Taiwan Bei watched them come from his position on a hill overlooking the main city. 20 landing craft, each carrying 100 Varax soldiers. They came down fast and hard, expecting no real resistance. They were wrong. "Wait for my signal," Taiwan said into his radio. "Let them land. Let them think we are afraid." The landing craft touched down in the fields outside the city. Doors opened and Vorax soldiers poured out, their weapons ready. They were tall and strong, covered in natural armor. Each one was a trained warrior from a species that had conquered dozens of worlds. They began marching toward the city, their formation perfect. "Now," Taiwan said. Hidden explosives erupted along the Vorax path. Fire and dirt flew into the air. Vorax soldiers screamed and fell. From buildings and trenches, human militia opened fire with every weapon they had. The Vorax formation broke apart in chaos. They had expected farmers and civilians. They found soldiers who knew how to fight. Taiwan led a squad in a quick attack on the nearest landing craft. They moved fast, using the smoke and confusion as cover. A few well-placed explosives disabled the craft, trapping the soldiers who had come from it. "One down," he reported. Moving to the next. For the first 2 hours, the humans held. They could not match the Vorax in strength or numbers, but they knew the land. They used every building, every hill, every shadow. They struck quickly and disappeared before the Vorax could respond. 3 landing craft were destroyed. Over 200 Vorax soldiers were killed or wounded. Human losses were smaller, but each one hurt. Taiwan saw friends fall and kept fighting. He saw soldiers take wounds and refuse to retreat. He saw cooks and farmers pick up weapons and join the battle. In her field hospital, Dr. Yoonji Lim worked without rest. Wounded soldiers came in a steady stream. She patched them up as quickly as she could, sending those who could still fight back to the lines. Those who could not fight stayed to help with the others. "Why are you doing this?" a wounded Vorax prisoner asked her. He had been captured in the first attack, his leg broken by an explosion. By all rights, the humans should have killed him. Instead, they had brought him here for medical treatment. "Doing what?" Yoonji asked, wrapping a bandage around the human soldier's arm. "Helping me," the Vorax said. "I am your enemy." Yoonji looked at him with tired eyes. "You are wounded. I am a doctor. That is all that matters right now." The Vorax stared at her in confusion. His species did not treat enemy wounded. They killed them or left them to die. This human behavior made no sense, but it was about to make even less sense. By the 3rd hour, Commander Vorax had grown tired of the resistance. He ordered the landing craft back to the ships. He ordered the ground forces to retreat. And then he ordered the orbital bombardment. Jisoo watched the first bombs fall from her emergency center. Massive explosions tore through the city, destroying buildings and streets. Each blast killed dozens of people who had not reached the bunkers in time. "They are retreating," one of her officers said. "We won the ground battle." "We did not win anything," Jisoo said quietly. "This is just the beginning." She turned to the communication panel and sent one final message. It went out to every human ship, every human world, every human ear that could hear it. "This is Elysium 4. We are under attack. They are killing our people. Send everyone, send everything, and do not let them escape." The message raced across the stars. And across human space, the response began. Ships that had been sleeping came to life. Crews that had been resting returned to their stations. An entire species turned its eyes toward the Vorax Dominion. The Vorax had wanted a quick raid. They had wanted to take resources and leave. Instead, they had woken something they did not understand. Something patient. Something angry. Something that would follow them to the edges of the galaxy and beyond. The hunt was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the attack on Elysium 4. 3 weeks of traveling through space at maximum speed. 3 weeks of preparing for what came next. Admiral Hyun Woo Shin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Justice. Through the main window, he could see the planet that the Vorax had attacked. Even from orbit, the scars were visible. Burned cities marked the surface like black wounds. Smoke still rose from some areas. "Final count, sir," his aide said quietly. 15,000 dead. 8,000 wounded. Half the colony's infrastructure destroyed. Hyunwoo did not respond immediately. He was 53 years old. He had served in the human fleet for 30 years. He had seen battles and losses before. But this was different. This was not a battle. This was a massacre of civilians, of families, of children. Behind his ship, 200 warships waited in formation. They had come from Earth, from Mars, from Luna, from colonies across human space. Some had traveled for weeks to be here. Their crews had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. Every single one of them wanted the same thing. "Open a channel to all ships," Hyunwoo said. The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Hyunwoo took a breath and spoke. His voice was calm but heavy with purpose. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo Shin to all vessels. Below us lies Elysium 4. 3 weeks ago, the Varax Dominion attacked this peaceful colony. They killed 15,000 of our people. Farmers, teachers, children, people who had done nothing wrong except live on a world the Varax wanted." He paused, letting the words settle. "The Varax believed they could attack us and escape. They believed we would be too weak or too slow to respond. They were wrong. Today, we begin the pursuit. We will follow them wherever they run. We will find every ship that participated in this attack, and we will bring them to justice." Across the fleet, crews listened in silence. Some had lost family on Elysium 4. Some had never met anyone from the colony. It did not matter. They were all human, and humans protected their own. "They think they can run," Hyunwoo continued. "Show them otherwise." The fleet moved as one, leaving Elysium 4 behind and heading toward Varax Space. Commander Soman Yu stood on the bridge of the pursuit vessel Relentless. Her ship was smaller and faster than the heavy warships, designed for exactly this kind of mission: tracking, finding, catching. "We have their trail," her sensor officer reported. "The Varax fleet passed through this sector 6 days ago. They are heading toward their border systems." "They are running home," Soman said. "They think their borders will protect them." She looked at the star map showing the Varax retreat. They were moving fast, but not fast enough. Human ships were designed for long pursuits. Their engines could maintain high speeds for weeks without rest. The Varax ships were powerful, but they were built for short, brutal attacks, not long chases. "Push our engines to 110%, Soman ordered. Her engineer looked concerned. "That will damage the drive systems over time. We might not make it back." Soman turned to face him. "Did the people on Elysium IV make it back to their homes?" The engineer was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. 110%. Understood." The Relentless surged forward, pushing beyond safe limits. Other pursuit vessels did the same. They would catch the Varax or die trying. In his fighter craft, pilot Jung-ho Kwon checked his weapons for the 10th time. He was young, only 24 years old, but he had trained his whole adult life for moments like this. His squadron of 12 fighters flew ahead of the main fleet, searching for Varax stragglers. "Contact," his wingman reported. "Varax destroyer hiding in an asteroid field. Looks like engine damage." They could not keep up with their fleet. John-ho studied the sensor data. The asteroid field was dense and dangerous. Flying fighters through it would be risky. Some pilots might not survive the approach. "Command wants us to wait for the heavy ships," his wingman said. "They will be here in 6 hours. In 6 hours, that destroyer might repair its engines and escape," Junho said. He thought about Elysium 4. He thought about the children who had died in the bombardment. He thought about families torn apart by Varax weapons. "We go in," he said. "All fighters follow my lead." The 12 fighters dove into the asteroid field. Rocks tumbled and spun around them. Junho weaved between them with skill born from years of training. Behind him, his squadron followed. The Varax destroyer saw them coming and opened fire. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. One fire took a hit and exploded against an asteroid. Then another .Ju and HO kept flying. He found gaps in the Varax fire. He found paths through the spinning rocks. He found his target. His weapons struck the destroyer's engines first, then its weapons, then its bridge. The massive ship broke apart, its pieces scattering among the asteroids. "Target destroyed," Junho reported. His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. "We lost 3 pilots," his wingman said quietly. "I know," Junho said. "Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. But that destroyer will not escape to hurt more of our people." Back at the Galactic Council, reports arrived daily about the human pursuit. Representatives watched in growing amazement as the humans pushed deeper and deeper into space. Elder Palom listened to the latest update. Human ships had been spotted in 4 different sectors, all chasing Varax vessels. Some human ships had suffered engine failures from pushing too hard. Their crews had transferred to other ships and continued the hunt, leaving the damaged vessels behind. "This is madness," a Drellian representative said. "They are destroying their own fleet to catch enemies who are already retreating." "It is not madness," Palom said. "It is determination. The humans will not stop until every attacker is found." "But the cost is too high," the Drellian insisted. Palom shook his head slowly. "You do not understand. For humans, there is no cost too high when protecting their own. They would burn their entire civilization to ashes if it meant no attacker escaped justice." The Drellian fell silent, unable to comprehend such thinking. On the Relentless, Commander Soman Yu received word that her ship's engines were beginning to fail. The constant high-speed pursuit had taken its toll. They had maybe 2 more days before the drive systems broke down completely. She gathered her crew on the bridge. 143 people who had followed her across the stars without question. "Our engines are dying," she told them honestly. "Command has offered to send a ship to pick us up. We can transfer to another vessel and continue the mission, or we can return home for repairs." She looked at their faces. Young and old. Men and women. All of them tired. All of them far from home. "I will not order anyone to continue," she said. "This must be your choice." The vote was unanimous. Every single crew member chose to continue. They would transfer to another ship and keep hunting. Not one person wanted to go home while Varax attackers still flew free. Soman felt pride swell in her chest. This was what it meant to be human. This was why they would win. 2 days later, the Relentless finally gave out. Its engines stopped working completely. But before it went dark, Soman and her crew had tracked 3 more Varax ships. Other human vessels followed those trails and destroyed them all. The message spread across the galaxy. Human ships appearing everywhere. Human hunters who never tired. Human anger that never cooled. On the Varax homeworld, High Commander Threnix received reports with growing fear. His fleet had escaped Elysium 4 easily. But now that fleet was being picked apart, ship by ship, across hundreds of light years. "They should have given up by now," Threnix said to his officers. "No species pursues this long. The cost is too great." "The humans do not seem to care about cost," an officer replied nervously. Threnix looked at the map showing human ship movements. They were everywhere, like a tide that would not stop rising, like a storm that would not end. For the first time, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The prey had become the hunters, and they were coming for him. 2 months had passed since the hunt began. The Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. The Varax Dominion, which had once controlled 50 star systems with an iron grip, was crumbling. Human fleets had pushed through their border defenses like water through broken walls. System after system fell silent as the humans advanced. Specialist Ariam No sat in the communications center of the flagship Eternal Justice, her headphones pressed tightly against her ears. She was the best signals officer in the fleet, able to decode Varax communications faster than anyone else. For weeks, she had been listening to the enemy's secrets. "I have something," she said quietly. Admiral Him Shin walked over to her station. "What did you find?" Ariam played the intercepted transmission through the speakers. Varax voices filled the room, speaking in their harsh language. But subtitles appeared on her screen, translated into human words. "They are afraid," Ariam said. "This message is from a supply station near their core worlds. They are begging for reinforcements that are not coming." Him listened to the fear in those alien voices. 2 months ago, the Varax had laughed at human warnings. They had called humanity weak. They had attacked a peaceful colony without mercy. Now they were the ones begging. "There is something else," Ariam continued. She pulled up another transmission. "High Commander Threnix is on their fortress world, Kethvorik. He has gathered what remains of their military around him. They plan to make a final stand." Yunwu studied the star map. Kethvorik was the heart of Varax military power. It was heavily defended, protected by orbital platforms and ground fortifications. Taking it would cost lives. But leaving Threnix alive was not an option. "How many ships do they have?" Hyunwoo asked. "Maybe 100 combat-ready vessels," Ariam replied. "Many more damaged ones. Their ground forces are still strong, probably 50,000 soldiers." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He had 160 ships left after 2 months of fighting. Some were damaged. Some were running low on supplies. But every crew was ready to finish this. "Send word to all vessels," he ordered. "We move on Kethvorik in 3 days." Captain Seungho Choi received the orders aboard the troop carrier Mountain Tiger. He commanded 5,000 ground soldiers, the main assault force for the attack on the fortress world. They had trained for months for exactly this kind of battle. Seungho gathered his officers in the planning room. Maps of Kethvorik covered the walls, showing enemy positions and defensive structures. "The Varax fight differently than we do," he explained. "They are bigger and stronger. In open combat, 1 Varax soldier can kill 3 humans easily. So we will not fight them in the open." He pointed to the map. "We use what we call pack tactics. Small teams, constant movement, never fighting fair. We hit them from every direction at once. We use explosives, traps, and tricks. We make them afraid of every shadow." His officers nodded. They understood. Humans had survived on Earth by being clever, not strong. They had hunted animals much larger than themselves by working together. Those ancient instincts would serve them well here. "One more thing," Seungho added. "High Commander Threnix is our primary target. He ordered the attack on Elysium 4. He killed our people. He does not leave this planet alive or free. Capture him if possible. Kill him if necessary. But he does not escape." "Understood, Captain," his officers replied as one. The battle for Kethvorik began at dawn on the 3rd day. Human ships engaged the Varax fleet in orbit. Energy weapons lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Ships exploded on both sides. Admiral Hyunwoo commanded from his bridge, directing the attack with calm precision. Below, Seungho's troops landed under heavy fire. Their dropships took damage coming down, but most made it through. Soldiers poured out onto the rocky surface of the fortress world, immediately taking cover. The Varax defenders were waiting. They stood in their trenches, massive and terrifying, their weapons ready. They expected the humans to charge forward into their guns. Instead, The humans disappeared. Sung-ho led his team through underground tunnels that their scouts had discovered weeks earlier. Other teams moved through buildings, through sewers, through any path that kept them out of sight. They appeared behind Vorax lines, struck quickly, and vanished before the enemy could respond. "They fight like ghosts," a Vorax soldier reported to his commander. "We cannot see them until it is too late." The Vorax tried to adapt, but the humans were always one step ahead. Every time the Vorax set a trap, the humans found another way. Every time the Vorax massed their forces, the humans struck somewhere else. Ariam continued monitoring transmissions from her ship in orbit. She heard Vorax commanders screaming for help. She heard soldiers describing enemies who seemed to be everywhere at once. She heard fear turning to panic. "The humans are not soldiers," one Vorax officer transmitted. "They are hunters. They are hunting us." By the second day of battle, the Vorax defensive lines had collapsed. Their soldiers retreated toward the central fortress where Threnix waited. But the humans followed, never letting them rest, never giving them time to regroup. Captain Sung-ho pushed his team forward through smoke and fire. They had been fighting for 30 hours without sleep. His soldiers were exhausted, but they kept moving. "Captain, we have located Threnix," his scout reported. "He is in the command bunker." "Heavy guard. How heavy?" Sung-ho asked. "At least 200 Vorax soldiers, and—" The scout hesitated. "He has a personal ship waiting nearby. If we do not hurry, he will try to escape." Sung-ho felt cold anger rise in his chest. Threnix was going to run. He was going to leave his soldiers to die while he fled to safety. Not this time. "All teams, converge on the command bunker," Sung-ho ordered. "Threnix does not leave. I repeat, he does not leave." The final assault was brutal. Human teams hit the bunker from every direction. Explosions shook the ground. Weapons fire echoed through metal corridors. Soldiers on both sides fell. Sung-ho led the charge into the bunker itself. He saw Vorax guards and shot them before they could react. He saw doors and blew them open. He saw Threnix. The High Commander was running toward his private hangar, surrounded by his last bodyguards. He was almost at his ship. "Stop him!" Sung-ho shouted. His soldiers opened fire. Bodyguards fell. Threnix stumbled, but kept moving. He reached his ship, climbed aboard, and the engines began to glow. "He's launching!" Someone yelled. Seung-ho grabbed his communicator. "Admiral Shin, Threnix is escaping in a personal vessel. Heading for orbit now." In space, Admiral Hyunwoo received the message. He looked at his tactical display. Threnix's small ship was rising from the planet's surface, trying to slip through the battle above. "He does not get to leave," Hyunwoo said quietly. He turned to his helmsman. "Take us in. I will catch him myself." The flagship Eternal Justice broke from the main battle and dove toward the fleeing ship. Other human vessels saw what was happening and joined the pursuit. Within minutes, Threnix was surrounded. His ship's weapons were no match for a full warship. His engines could not outrun them. He was trapped. "High Commander Threnix," Hyunwoo spoke over the communication channel. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your world is falling. You have nowhere to run. Surrender now and face justice for your crimes." For a long moment, there was silence. Then Threnix's voice came through, filled with bitter anger. "You were supposed to be weak. You were supposed to be easy prey." "You were wrong," Hyunwoo replied. "Now you will pay for that mistake." Threnix's ship powered down. He had no choice. Human soldiers boarded and took him prisoner. The war was over. That night, on the surface of Kethvorik, the surviving Vorax forces surrendered. 50,000 soldiers laid down their weapons and accepted human authority. Captain Sung-ho stood among the ruins of the fortress, watching prisoners being led away. His soldiers were exhausted but victorious. They had done what many thought impossible. A young soldier approached him. "Captain, what happens now?" Seung-ho looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Elysium 4, still healing from its wounds. Somewhere out there were families who had lost everything. Now, he said quietly, they answer for what they did. Justice was coming, and it would not be denied. 6 months had passed since the fall of Kethvorik. The galaxy had changed. Councilor Mira Cho stood before the Galactic Council once more. The Great Hall was silent, every representative watching her with careful attention. 6 months ago, they had looked at humanity with pity. Now they looked with something different, respect, and perhaps a little fear. "The Vorax Dominion has been dissolved," Myra announced. "Their military leadership has been tried for crimes against civilians. High Commander 3X and 14 other war criminals have been sentenced to life imprisonment on a maximum security station." She paused, letting the words settle across the hall. "The Vorax people will not be punished for the crimes of their leaders. We have helped them establish a new civilian government. They will rebuild their society under galactic observation. In time, they may become peaceful members of this community." A Drellian representative rose to speak. "The humans have shown unexpected mercy to the Vorax common people. We did not expect this." Myra nodded. "We are not monsters. We do not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty. But we also do not forgive those who attacked our people. There is a difference between mercy and weakness." Elder Palom rose slowly from his seat. His ancient eyes looked at Mira with something like approval. "I warned the Vorax," he said. "I told them what would happen if they attacked humanity. They did not listen. Now the entire galaxy has seen the truth." He turned to face the other representatives. "Let this be a lesson remembered forever. Humans do not start wars. But when attacked, they do not stop until every enemy is found. They do not forgive. They do not forget. They do not let their enemies escape." The hall was silent. Every species present understood the warning. Far away on Elysium 4, the survivors were rebuilding their home. Governor Jizuhan walked through what had once been the main city. 6 months of work had cleared most of the damage. New buildings were rising where old ones had fallen. Farms were producing food again. Children were playing in new parks, but scars remained. Some buildings stood empty because their families had been killed. Some fields lay fallow because their farmers had not survived. The wounds would heal, but they would never fully disappear. Jisoo stopped at the center of town, where a new memorial had been built. A tall stone wall stood in a peaceful garden, covered with names. 15,000 names. Every person who had died in the attack. She read some of them silently. Farmers who had worked their land for decades. Teachers who had educated generations of children. Young people who had barely begun their lives. Old people who should have died peacefully in their beds, but all gone because the Vorax thought humans were weak. Admiral Hyung Woo-shin approached the memorial. He was out of uniform, wearing simple civilian clothes. But Jisoo recognized him immediately. The man who had led the fleet. The man who had captured 3X. "Admiral," she said quietly. "You came." "I had to," Himu replied. He looked at the wall of names. "These people died because we were not strong enough to protect them. The least I can do is remember them." He raised his hand in a slow salute. Jisoo watched him hold it for a long moment, his eyes never leaving the memorial. "We will make sure this never happens again," Hinwoo said. "More ships. Better defenses. No colony will ever be this vulnerable again." "Will it be enough?" Jisoo asked. Hinwoo lowered his hand. "I do not know, but I know this. Every species in the galaxy is now watching. They saw what we did to the Vorax. They will think twice before attacking us. Sergeant Taiwan Bei joined them at the memorial. He had survived the ground battle, though he carried new scars on his face and hands. He had stayed on Elysium 4 to help with the rebuilding. "There is a new school opening next week," he said. They named it after one of the children who died. They wanted to remember. Jisoo nodded. "We will always remember. That is who we are." Dr. Yoonji Lim arrived carrying flowers. She placed them gently at the base of the memorial, then stood in silence with the others. The four of them had all fought in their own ways. Governor, admiral, sergeant, doctor. Different roles, but the same purpose, protecting their people. On the other side of the galaxy, a new species was making a difficult decision. The Kelleran had recently expanded their empire. They were young and ambitious, eager to prove themselves among the older powers. Their leaders had noticed the rich human trade routes passing through nearby space. Easy targets for raids, but their advisors had brought troubling information. "Watch this," the chief advisor said, playing recordings on a screen. "This is what the humans did to the Varax." The Kelleran leaders watched in growing horror. They saw the human fleet hunting Varax ships across star systems. They saw the ground battle on Kethvorik. They saw Threenix being led away in chains. The Vorax had 400 warships, the advisor said. They were stronger than us, and the humans destroyed them completely. But why? A Kelleran general asked. Why would any species spend so much to punish an enemy who was already retreating? Because humans do not let attackers escape, the advisor explained. They call it justice. They call it protection. Whatever they call it, the result is the same. Anyone who attacks them will be hunted until they are caught. The Kelleran leaders looked at each other in silence. What do you recommend? Their empress thought the advisor pressed a button and a new document appeared on screen. A peace treaty. We offer the humans friendship and trade. We promise never to attack their ships or colonies. In return, we gain a powerful ally instead of a terrifying enemy. The Emperor considered this for a long moment. Then he nodded. Make it happen, he said. We will choose peace. In the Galactic Archives, a record keeper made a final entry in the file about the Varax War. It was a simple note, meant to warn future generations. Classification updated for species designation. Human. Previous rating. Minor power. Peaceful. Non-threatening. New rating. Major power. Approach with caution. Do not engage in hostile actions. Below this, the record keeper added a personal note. The humans have a saying. They say if you hurt their people, they will find you. They will follow you across the galaxy. They will never stop until every attacker is caught. Many species believe this is exaggeration. It is not. The Varax learned this truth. Others should learn from their mistake. The final line was simple but powerful. Do not attack humanity. They do not forgive. They do not forget. And they never, ever let you escape. Back on Elysium 4, the sun was setting. Jisoo, Hyunwoo, Taiwan, and Yoonji stood together at the memorial as the sky turned orange and gold. What happens now? Taiwan asked. Jisoo looked at the names on the wall one more time. Then she looked at the new buildings rising around them, the children playing in the distance, the farmers returning to their fields. Now we live, she said quietly. We honor those we lost by building a future worth living. And we stay ready, because the next time someone threatens our people, we will be stronger. Hyunwoo nodded. The fleet will be watching, always. Yoonji smiled sadly. And we will keep healing. That is what we do. The sun slipped below the horizon. Stars appeared in the purple sky. Somewhere among those stars, human ships patrolled the borders of their space, watching, protecting, ready. The Virax had thought humans were prey. They had learned the truth too late. Humans were not prey. They were guardians. They were hunters. They were a species that would cross the entire galaxy to protect their own. And now the galaxy knew it. The warning would echo through history forever. Never attack humanity. Because if you do, they will find you. And they will never let you escape.